Good evening, everybody. Welcome to November's Employment Committee. Just a couple of uh, house rules, really, to make sure our phones are off or on silent. And also, if you're going to speak, to use the mic, it's the middle button, and to remind you that this is being recorded live. So sometimes the camera will be on you, not necessarily if you're speaking. Okay. And obviously, if the fire alarm goes off, we will follow Tony. Okay. Right. Well, okay. Apologies.
I've received no apologies, Chair.
Minutes.
Yes, I have a couple of areas, please, just to highlight. On page 5, please, the Workforce Information Report, para 3, in response to a question by Councillor. Then we move on to Councillor West. So I'm assuming that those two both relate to Councillor West.
I just need to change it once.
So,
Sorry.
sorry, Chair. The suggestion is we simply delete those words in response to a question by a councillor.
Sorry, with respect, that doesn't make sense then. In response to a question by Councillor, then is it?
And then delete those words. So
Sorry, delete those part, so it finishes at passed on, is it?
Yes.
Excellent, thank you. And then just one small issue on page 6, para 2, line 6, measures, is that meant to be and sickness? Yes. Okay, thank you. And we had one more. I think okay, did you have one as well yourself, Tricia?
Not in the minutes.
Oh.
No, it wasn't in the minutes.
So
Okay.
Subject to those amendments.
Yes, subject to those amendments. Are you all happy for me to sign the minutes of the last minute? Yeah. Have members got any interests to declare? No? Okay, then we'll go on to the Workforce Information Report. That's Nikki, isn't it? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So the Workforce Information Report for Q2, which is the 1st July 2023 to the 30th of September 2023. At the end of the quarter, the workforce headcount we had a headcount of 629 full-time equivalent employees and a total of 571. This is higher than the end of the previous quarter. On our pay bill, we are forecasted on all of our pay costs on employees is currently estimated to be lower than budget, but in contrast, there is an estimated overspend on contractors and agency staff. As we have discussed previously, our contractors are regularly monitored by SLT, and we're now about to have a meeting to discuss the agency costs to review those as well. Does anyone have any questions on pay?
Sorry, has anybody got any questions on the pay? Okay. Councillor Court.
Sorry, thank you. Sorry, I had a question about pay. I think it's probably just a typo on page 9, but I couldn't make the sums work out that were. Let me just find it for you. Here we go. What did you say? Yeah, so forecast spend on pay costs for employees is estimated at 528, lower than expected, equating to blah, blah, blah. In contrast to this, there's an estimated overspend of 814 in contract safety staff against 326, netting an underspend of 285. Is that a typo?
Apologies, yes, it is a typo.
That's right, that was my assumption, but double check.
Thank you. Moving on to leavers, in the previous quarter, we had 18 employees leave the council, which was lower than the previous quarter where there was 23. The percentage turnover for the last 12 months has now decreased to 13.17%, which is lower than the previous quarter. And this continues the trend we've seen over the last 12 months of our turnover reducing. And we're now below the LGA and national benchmarking levels for turnover. From looking at the data, it can be seen that our top reasons for leaving are pay and job change, which has been consistent across the previous quarters as well. We've discussed at the committees a few times around the factors around the economic climate and pay, which is currently still reflective of the current situation. Including in the report, we have given a summary of the reasons for leave and taken from our completed exit interviews in the last 12 months, with the top 3 reasons being job change, salary and benefits, and retirement. We're currently looking at refreshing our exit interview process so that we can get further data to share with yourselves to try and use that to help support our retention. And we're also looking to implement stay interviews to talk to our employees around why they stay with us to try and help support that, which will work along the workforce strategy work that we're doing at the moment. We've had 3 retirements with a combined service of 43 years.
Okay, thank you for that. And can we put on record our thanks for the staff who have retired and for their time here with HDC?
I just wanted to say it's really good that the staff turnover is going below 15%. I mean, generally, I certainly worked at one company who said that 15% turnover was really quite a healthy, an ideal situation. But I guess my question is in terms of the 13.7% or generally that 14%, is that sort of across the board, or are we having lots of leavers in one particular area or another? Is that something we should be concerned about?
We do see some areas with higher turnover than others, places like operations, customer services, and one leisure, which are areas where you would naturally expect to see higher turnover. Obviously, we're still working to reduce those as well.
Thank you, Chair. Nikki, thank you for this. At the last meeting, we did discuss actually doing a gap analysis on salaries. Have you done that?
I'd started it and we've actually literally just had the new LGA pay rates come out. So rather than give you part information, I will bring it to the next one with a comparator correctly.
So is that going to be in 3 months then, before the next meeting? Yes? Will we have it before the next meeting, or will we have to wait until the next meeting for the gap analysis?
I can provide it before the next meeting.
Am I right in thinking the same with the plan as in operations, still losing staff, are we, or is that stabilised in the planning service?
We have seen less turnover in planning in recent months. It has stabilised a little bit, but there is still a recruitment challenge within the area.
Thank you. If I can just come in on the planning recruitment, one of the things that I've now asked the team to work together with colleagues in HR and also our comms team, so that I've asked for all of the vacancies in planning to have been mapped by the end of last week, and then actually to work with the comms team and HR to develop a microsite which will then contain testimonials, examples of the quality and type of work which, if you join our team, what you will be able to see and take part in. Also, reasons why Huntingdonshire is the place to be in terms of recruitment, and actually make that come to life with short videos as well. And I've asked for that work to be completed, ready to launch a campaign either the week commencing the 4th of January or the week commencing the 11th of January. So we hit that new year, new job vibe. And actually we go out and we show the breadth of opportunity available, but link it to actually what's happening. So it doesn't look like, oh, you know, sometimes you keep an eye on places where they continually advertise, but actually to show that the reason why we have that is because there's been an investment in the service and therefore the support and value that the service has to the whole organisation. So I'm because I think, you know, when we know we've got areas that are challenging to recruit, we have to do something different and we have to think differently. And that will also incorporate using LinkedIn as well as a platform for recruitment, because we know certainly that LinkedIn is a key place now, particularly younger professionals. They tend to access LinkedIn more than traditional means of, you know, if I was when I used to be a lawyer, local Law Society Gazette, you would have gone to there, but actually you don't do that anymore. You go to local government lawyer if you're in the local government world. So it's just picking up where those professionals are now seeking to find their next role. So again, that is determined to see if that's a different outcome, and then depending on that works, we can assess that and look to translate that and use that as across the rest of the teams as well. Thank you.
Chairman, thank you, Managing Director.
Thank you. Just continue on recruitment. We have a significant increase this quarter in recruit roles advertised, with an extra 26 roles compared to last quarter. The most difficult to recruit area for us has been One Leisure, but as you'll have seen in the report, there is a massive competition in the market around recruiting leisure roles. Activity in the recruitment team has been busy. We've been refreshing our careers website, which is about to go live, which has got a lot more information for applicants to try and make us more attractive. We're also created an employee voices section so that some of our team can talk, or employees can talk about their route through HTC from when they joined to where they are now, just to try and show the actual variety of roles we offer and how you could start in one role and end up somewhere completely different. So hopefully that will help. And we're looking at working with public practice, and we've actually successfully filled one of our planning roles with them that we've had challenges with up until now. Engagement within the period, we've launched our level 5 and level 7 leadership and management apprenticeships, which will help develop our internal management skill. And through the work of our L&D business partner, in the last quarter, we actually used 95% of our apprenticeship levy pot, which when most companies lose their levy pot on a regular basis, that's a real achievement for us. We saw the completion of our first ILM level 3 cohort as well, with a really good turnout rate, so that was really happy. And we've commenced a lot of work on the workforce strategy, but I'm not going to steal Nick and John's thunder because they'll talk about that shortly. Any questions on either recruitment or engagement?
I just have one comment really about the apprenticeships. It's really good to see those and to see them rising in different areas and that. So, yes, very good. I thought that was.
Thank you, Chair. Can I just ask, I probably should know this, but I can't remember. What are variable employees?
Variable employees are 0 hours contract employees generally.
Yes, just a comment, Nikki. Pleased to see the short-term sickness has sort of been highlighted, and obviously a much stronger figure at 3.8 days per FTE. But just a sort of general question, are there any proposed actions for your 20 long-term sickness staff on 20 20 staff who designated as long-term sick?
Obviously, with the long-term sick, there are a variety of different reasons why people are absent, and we support them in the most appropriate ways necessary, be that through occupational health support, through supporting their managers to help them while return to work, looking at occupational health and how we can support them when they are ready to return to work. So it really does just depend on the nature of the conditions that people are off with.
Thank you, Chair. Just to pop back to the recruitment and One Leisure, and obviously the challenges there. I took the opportunity of looking on the website of the jobs that were going. They're all fixed term contracts. I presume there's a reason for that, but could that be playing against getting people involved if they feel it's not worth it in a fixed term and I'm only going to be there for a certain time? And it'd be interesting to understand why they're fixed term.
They're fixed term, just pending a review of the service, just to make sure we've got everything right correctly, and those roles have literally been advertised in the last week, so actually that's not been a blocker to recruitment up till now. These are just new roles. It's just across the leisure industry, it's a real challenge. Thank you. Summary of sickness. So our sickness did increase in the last quarter, up to 8.2 days, but as has been mentioned, that is predominantly driven by long-term sickness, and short-term would equate to 3.8 days per person. As can be seen from our case reporting, actually, sickness is managed actively through the council, where the HR team support managers to encourage employees to come to work and deal with their absences appropriately. You can see we were asked to look at what our sickness trends were, and you can see over the last 3 years, the high sickness reasons are similar. So it's around stress, anxiety, depression, MSK, and coughs and colds. Obviously, 21-22 was slightly skewed with COVID. But we're looking to support those with our mental health first aiders, our employee assistance programme, and we actually opened our flu voucher scheme this year, and we've to date, and we've still got a couple more days, we've given out over 100 flu vouchers to our employees to support them, which is a significant increase on last year. Any questions on sickness? Thank you. I mentioned the HR caseload. It has again increased in the quarter, but that is mainly driven by sickness absence cases where we are supporting managers. We continue to report the accident and incident reports. There are a total of 35 accidents recorded involving non-employees, but there were no riddle reportable accidents involving non-employees. We'll continue. At the committee, you asked previously around KPIs around health and safety, and whilst there are not any at the moment, we are in the process of moving to a new accident management system, so the health and safety team will be looking to provide more going forward. So that's the summary. In conclusion, we've commenced work on our engagement for the workforce strategy, where we'll put forward the needs of the workforce, and that workforce strategy sits alongside the work that the HR team are doing to support our employees in work. Thank you.
Thank you, Nikki. Has anybody got any questions they want to ask on this, please? Councillor Pauling.
Thanks. Yeah, so I'm full of questions tonight. The equality actions, are you going to cover that, or are you happy to take a question now?
I'm happy to take questions. We've included them in the report for you.
So I love this. I think it's a great thing, and I love to see it. Question that arose in my mind, and given that and all the other sort of demographic type information that you have, again, very impressed with it. I only wish my organisation could do as good a job as you. Are we exploring the possibility of sort of employee networks? Because obviously it is the sort of thing that's happening in terms of the various communities we've now got. Is it something that we've considered? Is it something we're actively pursuing, or is it something we ought to be thinking about?
It's definitely something we've considered. It's something we're looking at, and through the feedback from the workforce strategy engagement sessions, we'll find out which are the correct networks to bring in, rather than just picking a selection that we want.
It's a question for basically around 1.10, the time off for trade union duties. Is that paid time off, or is that just time off for them to do activities but we're not paying for it?
It's paid time off.
In that case, 111 hours, which is what, almost 3 weeks to train. What are they training for 3 weeks on?
Each new rep goes through a 5-day course to train them on everything from the trade union to employment contract and policies and procedures to be able to support their members and our employees.
Is that covered by the legislation? Because I had a quick read of it, and it said it's for things in support of people in the union, not actually to train the union member itself.
Yes, as part of the agreement and the trade union training, we are required to support training of our reps.
The question is that in the legislation, or is that in something we've agreed on top of the legislation?
That's within the legislation.
Just out of curiosity, so how many reps have we trained in 111 hours?
I believe we've trained 4 of the reps so far.
So just we've got 4 reps, for one union, how many members do they represent?
Unfortunately, I can't answer the question of how many because we don't know how many people are members. It's just making sure that we've got reps across the organisation to support in the local areas.
I think we did discuss this at some length some time ago, and we basically did some benchmarking, making sure that we were in line with other local councils to make sure that we didn't actually be overly generous. And I think that's what this committee agreed at that point, was actually to be in line with the average in the region, if my memory is correct. Is that right, Nikki? Thank you.
Yes, that's correct.
Just a question, not a question, a statement, I suppose. I love benchmarking. It's always the last place to go when you've got to justify something. But I want to understand for the taxpayers how much we are paying to support this activity, because I think it should be clear. What is 111 hours worth to this district council?
Because this refers to Q1, doesn't it? And as I recall, did we not have a turnover and actually at least 2 or 3 new reps that had to go through sort of a comprehensive training program? That's I understand it, and it certainly seemed to be like a whole week of training per new rep. But equally, concur with Councillor Keane that yes, obviously probably we do need further clarification.
So each new rep goes through 5 days training. We have currently 5 Unison reps within the business, but we will only see that this year. It's their initial training, and then I think it's 3 years' time there is a day refresher course, I believe it is. So it's that initial point.
Thank you, Chair. I mean, I think I agree, because they're not going to be getting 111 hours every quarter. This is just a one-off training exercise just to get people embedded in the system. So I don't think that's excessive at all.
So how does this compare to our employee representative committee? How much time do they get to represent the whole of the employees compared to 5 union reps who we don't know who they represent? I mean, it's great for the union, fantastic. They're getting paid by us to get trained. But I'd like to understand, what's the benefit to the district council?
We allow our ERG reps reasonable time off to support our employees in the same way as we would do a trade union rep. We're also arranging training to support them, so they will receive a similar training, obviously not trade union, but training provided by us to them.
Sorry, so in that case, could we have in the next report comparison between the the employee representatives and the union, and can we have a figure of what cost is, so we can make some better analysis of what's going on?
Is that possible, Nikki? Is that possible to do that?
We only at this precise moment we capture trade union hours due to statutory duty that we have to report. We can request to start capturing ERG, but we won't have it historically, but we can ask to move forward with it.
If I could challenge that a little bit, it only really adds value if we can make a change. So if it's a government requirement, yeah, we can ask officers to jump through hoops to get the information, but we're not going to be able to change it. So I sort of challenge as to whether it's a really valuable question.
Well, to the portfolio holder, I think possibly the taxpayers would like to challenge it, even if he doesn't.
It's a challenge to the government, really, isn't it?
I think it was agreed at this panel the amount of hours that we would give. But if you want more breakdown, we can try and get that for you. Okay.
But just to come back one more time, it's going to cost the council yet more money in order to prove something that we can't do anything about. But if Chair, happy for the committee to agree that.
Okay, in open and transparency, so we make sure that this is being done correctly. I would think that it's better to have the breakdown, please. You okay? Are there any more questions from the? No. Then we'll move on to workforce strategy, which we're all looking forward to hearing about.
Yeah, thank you and good evening, panel. We have got a short presentation to take you through this evening. There are, and I promise, literally only 4 or 5 slides, so we are not going to be here going through PowerPoint to death. There they are, magically appearing behind you. Just quick introduction. I think I probably know most members around the table. My name is John Taylor. I'm the Chief Operating Officer here at the District Council. So I look after a number of our operational service areas, but I'm also part of the senior leadership team here. And my role really is to act as a sort of project sponsor for this, is to make sure we've got the right resources in place to deliver the pieces of work and to help shape some of the outcomes that we're going to get from this work as we move forward. I'll be really clear though, I'm not the only SLT voice heard on this. Michelle's here tonight. She's definitely got strong opinions, wants to have an input into it. Karen's also here as well. There's lots of us who've got real keen interest in making sure this work pushes through and delivers real change for the District Council. I'm accompanied tonight by Nick Harper, who sat next to me. Nick is the project manager and she's delivering an awful lot of the work. So once I've done the kind of topping and tailing of the presentation, the real work, the real evidence will come through Nick and she will take you through some of those slides. So if I could have the next slide, please. I'll just talk through the outline of what we're looking to cover tonight. So introduction, I've kind of covered already. We're then going to take you through a little bit about why we're going to do the workforce strategy. Nick will take you through some of the evidence, the work that we've done so far, and this is really active work. Workshops, sessions with staff are happening at the moment, and Nick will take you through some of that detail. We'll talk a little bit about some of the things that are still left to do, and there's probably more of those, I think, than we've really got time to cover tonight, but we'll do the best we can to cover off the responsibilities we've got to deliver on. But there will critically be at the end plenty of time for questions, and I think that'll be really quite useful for us to get your feedback, your questions, your thoughts, because we are very much shaping the work as we start our journey on the workforce strategy. So if I could just have the next slide, please. Just a quick reminder, really, why do we need a workforce strategy? This is about making sure that the District Council and its workforce has got a plan and that we are looking ahead and we are thinking about the challenges, pressures, the things that we need to deal with as an organisation, and that we have behind us the best quality staff that we can have. They are absolutely the bedrock of the services that we provide here, and we need to have the best people working in the best way. We need to attract those individuals, get them working for us at the District Council, and to deliver on the things that sit within our corporate plan. We think we need to do some work to pull together some strands that we've already got in place, and it's not like we're starting from point of zero, but we do need to pull together an effective strategy that really focuses on our workforce. So it's a commitment and it is linked within the corporate plan. It's one of the key actions that's listed for this year to deliver that workforce strategy. So we are honouring that commitment and looking to achieve that project by the close of this financial year. What does it give us? Well, it gives us a lot, I think. It gives us an engaged workforce, and the work that we're doing in actually setting the strategy up is genuinely engaging the workforce. Nick will cover that in much more detail. But it also gives us a whole set of other outcomes that we are aiming for. So better retention of staff, better career development plans, the opportunity to grow talent within our own organisation rather than constantly have to go out and find it. And it also starts to future-proof our organisation as well, to look ahead at the challenges that are coming and to be actively thinking about the skills, resources, people that we need to be in place to meet those challenges head on. It does also deal with some risks as well. So it thinks about the challenges we've got around workforce. Managing that in the right way will allow us to have plans in place to deal with some of those future risks about challenges from other sectors or the careers that people may wish to go towards. We need to be thinking about how we can make ourselves a really good employer. And it picks up on Michelle's point already, really, about thinking about how, for example, in planning, we can make ourselves a place that people want to come and work here. So it really delivers an awful lot of benefits. It's a really fundamental piece of work, and it is a really important piece of work for us. It is very much in its early days. And I know it's already been talked about at this committee previously. It's why we're here today, really, is to take you through some of that early work, get your thoughts. And I suspect we'll probably talk a little bit about how we'd like to use you as well later on to get your views in the project. So hopefully that's a reasonably short introduction. I'm going to hand over now to Nick and Nikki. I think Nick's probably going to take lead on most of the slides to walk us through. So if we could have the next slide, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for giving me the opportunity to come this evening and share where we're at with workforce strategy. It is most appreciated. So in terms of being able to introduce and launch the project work across Huntingdon District Council, we've done significant communications actively across all members of staff. We've done management and all staff briefings, all different levels, so that everybody feels included and they can participate. But most importantly, that they understand what the workforce strategy is and how important it is to the council. So it's all about kind of what we need now and what we need to equip us in the future. We've done lots of different activities. We've shadowed in departments to gain insight into valuable services, the roles that our staff perform for the people and places of Huntingdonshire District Council. We've built rapport, encouraging involvement in the project among all staff. We've launched an intranet and we've got a comms plan together. So we're looking at all the channels of communication for the workforce, as we appreciate not all of them have IT access and some of them have limited. So we're making sure that those channels of communication are open and accessible to all. We've done visuals for obviously the staff so they can see things on staff notice boards. We've included things in the Friday message, team talk and news feeds. Several interested employees across Huntingdonshire District Council have joined the workforce strategy, and we've called them the Champion Group. So they share thoughts, they help the voice of the strategy in their services, and we're very much appreciated for the time that they give. And we're also working very closely with ERG and Unison. We formed, I hope, very good relationships. They're very involved in the project. We have regular meetings to share the up and coming activity and the feedback, and their input is incredibly valuable to us because they see also a different aspect in terms of from the employee perspective that perhaps we wouldn't see. We're also networked with external partners. So East of England Government, we had an article in the HR Dispatches on the launch of the workforce strategy, and we're collaboratively meeting with other councils and private employers and attending webinars to obviously have a competitive edge and also experience lessons learned. So at the quarterly all staff briefing, we advised that we would like to do a workforce strategy staff survey, your views. We wanted to test the pillars and make sure that they were right. So we were looking at 3 workforce components. So we've got attraction and retention, so recruitment, and we've got engagement and well-being. It was really important for us to involve the staff so that they could agree in principle, but also have the opportunity to advise if they felt that there was anything different that we needed to look at for the strategy. We had 22% participation across the site, which was really encouraging. And we had 88% staff agreed that, yes, we were on the right track. So we did all the promotion, meetings, debriefs, comms, intranet visuals, all around that. We had an incredible support with senior leadership team, management, Champion, ERG and Unison. We did also test pilot the staff survey before we rolled it out to all the staff to make sure that it was accessible to all audience and the language was correct. And then obviously we made sure that One Leisure and Eastfield House had paper-based because not all of them have internet access and access to laptops. We also attended early morning debriefs to give introductions and make sure that everybody understood the purpose and the reason for the activity, introducing the project because obviously not all of them were able to attend all staff meetings. And we also made provisions to support any individuals that struggled with learning difficulties around reading and writing. We also then fed back with regards to what they said in the staff survey. And what was really important to staff was to be involved in the project, to have their voice heard. They wanted to have open discussions about pay. They wanted to see career progression. They wanted to see transparency, and they wanted to see good communication. We've then just started our engagement sessions, so we're working on our attraction and retention pillar. So we did lots of promotion around that, so all staff were able to come along to the sessions. We did the promotional lead up from the 30th of October to the 10th of October. Just want to make it, sorry, that might have been the other way around. Sorry about that. Just want to make it really clear. Whilst we're doing these activities, we're also gaining feedback so that we're taking on board lessons learned whereby we can actually implement and improve as we go through the project. We'd also obviously like to invite the council in case they'd like to come along to a session. But we've managed to reach, so we're in the week 1.5, so we finish at the end of this week, and we've managed to reach 115 staff members face to face, and then obviously on Teams. We've had mixed staff attending at different sessions and different sites, which has been really collaborative. They've been able to obviously meet colleagues that perhaps they've never seen before. And I can honestly say that the feedback, the input, and the ideas and the suggestions that they're making are incredible. They're really, really great. They're really valid. They are definitely on board with today's financial climate, and also, most importantly, where we need to be with our corporate plan, and also how we stand by our care values and how we treat each other. They're very aware in terms of attracting new staff, but also the importance of retaining staff and how we are viewed in a competitive marketplace and also against other councils. I have been able to just put some themes together so far, so I can just maybe give you a flavour on some of the topics that are coming through. So what we've seen, we've openly talked about pay, so we've encouraged that. We haven't shone away from that at all. And what the staff are saying is they would really like to see a competitive pay within the market labour, but also against other councils. They think that's really important to retain and also attract new staff of all different generations. They would like to see pay progression. That would also help with retention and performance-related pay. They would also like to see reward and benefits for all, and also to make sure that it's all accessible, so they're aware of everything that's available to them. So we are looking at communication. Communication is a big thing that's come through, and we've touched on kind of how they'd like to be communicated and kind of the feedback that they'd like to receive, and they'd like to have a thank you for the hard job that they do. We've also talked about job application process, how we could perhaps simplify that and make it slightly easier. The other thing that has come up is about actually sharing and championing the great council experience that you could achieve by coming to join the council. And so obviously that goes with what you've said. There's been a lot of great suggestions, improvisation, and lots of good ideas coming through. And that isn't just in terms of apprenticeships. Again, it's a whole range of generation, and it's looking at job centres, encouraging people to get back out to work, local communities, perhaps ex-offenders, just lots of different areas and lots of ideas coming through. And these are the best people to be able to get this so that we can build a really great strategy, because they're doing their role. They can see what we need to do. Relationships are really important to them. They want to have the conversations around career progression, and they want to be able to move across the council. They want to also have the career guidance and mentorship. We've talked about buddying systems that might help with new staff, upskilling, and obviously I need to emphasize this. There are some things that have been suggested that the HR team are bubbling with. So we have actually said that to the staff, so that's been really encouraging, so they know that our finger is on the pulse. We've also suggested internal shadowing. They're very acute to upskilling and training. We do talk about staff resourcing. We've also talked about the basic skills that maybe some of us take for granted. So reading and writing, ESOL. If perhaps we were able to look at that, then maybe we could move across the council a little bit easier. And then most importantly as well, latest tech. making sure that we've got the tools to do the job so that we're the best council out there. Then obviously you want to know key milestones, don't you? Okay, so what we're looking to do is finish the engagement sessions on the 24th of November. Naturally, obviously, we would love for you to be able to come and have an engagement session with us, because I think that would be a really great perspective. We would then be looking behind the scenes to do the strategy, so to all the implementation, and the plan is to be able to bring this to Employment Committee on the 7th of February. Okay, so that would be our first pillar. And then behind the scenes, we're looking to do the engagement sessions in January, and then the wellbeing sessions in March, so that we can do all the consolidation, all the strategy implementation, and we can bring that to you on the 19th of June. What we'd also like to see is it's really important that when we've been doing this activity with the staff, is that they see progress and they see change and they see activities happening. So we would also like to look at some things that perhaps we can easily do that would really bring in the trust and the change, and that would really help with the project and retaining, building the workforce and attracting the new staff and saying what a great place we are to be. Thank you.
Thank you. We've got one more slide just to have a quick look at, which is what do we still need to do. So if we could just go on to that. I think Nick's already covered a lot of that work, actually. It's about bringing in those views. I think a couple of things I'd put on the table as well, from my perspective. This is massive, and we need to be realistic about what we can deliver and put some prioritization around things and accept that this is not a once done thing. The workforce strategy will be a continually evolving document. We will try things. Some things will not work. Some things will absolutely fly, and we need to amplify those. So for us, I think it's about signaling that this is just not a one strike and done. I think we'll be constantly coming back to you as a committee on around this, around the ideas that we're taking forward. And we will have to make some tough choices. I don't think we'll start by doing everything all in one go. I think the other perspective I'd put on the table as well, which is really important, the staff engagement sessions are really vital. We're sourcing really good ideas from them. We need to put other voices in the room around the strategy too. So part of that will be about external perspectives. What can we learn from going on in the marketplace and others? And Nick's already out there busy working with other councils, but other organisations too, to try and find out best practice that we can beg, steal or borrow. And the other input we're going to put in here is, I think, the right one to put in. It's also the views of the senior leadership team here. So there will be some specific sessions for us as a group to come in and try and give that strategic input around what we are seeking to achieve within the organisation as well. And it's that mix, when it's boiled up, I think that will give us the best output here. It'd be staff voices, leadership voices, but also those external perspectives as well. So it's about pulling that together and pushing it and giving it the right perspective. So that is a hopefully a decent overview of what we're at the moment. I suspect you may ask questions that you think we can give you answers to at the moment. We are genuinely in the discovery phase on this. We are finding out stuff. We are busy doing sessions at the moment, but we thought it was really important to just give you that instant flavour and to deal with any questions or thoughts that you may have. So happy to close at that point to take any questions. Thank you.
I've just got a comment before I put it out to everyone. I mean, I picked up that the reason that some of our employees were leaving was communication. So this is very, very welcomed to see how much good communication is going on and how you are engaging and how you are giving people who work here a voice and they're being heard. So from my perspective, I'd like to put that on record. So I think it was Councillor Corley first.
Thank you, Chair. Well done. Sounds like you've been very, very, very busy. So, yes, just one point, two points I've got here. One, I just wanted to clarify, I've heard right. Did you say you had 22% engagement at one stage?
Yes, so for the staff survey, we had 22% participation. That may sound a little bit low, but very sensitively, that was when some other activity was going on. So we did incredibly well.
I don't doubt that. I just wanted to, I thought, did I hear that right? I was really intrigued by the discussion around pay, because of course it's always and it's always the thing. It's the most important thing. I get that. Has there been any discussion in all of that engagement around this a full rewards package? So pay as well as other benefits, as well as it's just interesting to see what was coming out there.
So the staff are really realistic. I'm going to be honest, pay is incredibly important to them, but there are so many other rewards and benefits that the council have. So good pension, the good supportiveness, the well-being, the other rewards. We know that we need to do some work around perhaps some visibility and championing that. But in the other pillars that come through, we can talk about what they'd like to see. But we have actually started those conversations. And one of the interesting ones that I found that happened a couple of days, so yesterday and today, we actually positioned the question, okay, so let's just say we couldn't do anything with money right now. What other incentives would help you? And a couple of the staff, and it was more related to their role, said, actually, healthcare, physio would really help me. My role's manual. When you look at sickness, that's going to help them keep in work, looking after them. So they are very realistic, but I need to be honest with you. In terms of pay, it does need to be competitive. We do need to be making sure that we are looking at this, but it isn't just about the salary, it's about the pay progression, it's about paying me fairly, it's about the transparency and the consistency. But yes, in terms of your question, other rewards and benefits are there: annual leave, family friendly support and leave. There's lots of other things that we've been in discussions with.
One extra point on that as well. I think the thing that's been quite useful is the workshop sessions have allowed those conversations to happen. So asking people about what matters absolutely pays probably the first post-it that goes up from most people. But then the secondary questions are, so what else matters? And actually those rich conversations about what motivates people in work does expose a lot of other things. And I think that's backed up by not only what we're seeing in the workshops, but by what you see from kind of evidence from studies into this. Pay is a factor. Absolutely. It's absolutely critical. But motivation, reward, about thanks, about a purpose for the job. There's all sorts of other factors and reasons why people come to work and feel valued by their employer. And I think that's starting to come through in some of those conversations as well. And that does get backed up by the evidence base that sits behind it as well in kind of the academic world. There are studies on this, which we are also bearing in mind in our thinking and our planning.
Thank you. It's music to my ears, actually. I love the whole aspect of it. And I totally agree. Hygiene factors are so important in terms, and you have to use an evidence base in order to actually progress on anything. I would obviously like to just emphasize again is it's raising expectations from the staff, because obviously once you open the door, because they think, oh, so you're quite right, you need to actually show that something actually comes out of it. So even if it's a small thing, but it actually has to show that you're listening to them and actually feel valued, which I'm sure you do, but obviously it just has to be visual. So excellent. I think it's a really, really good start, and I fully support it. Thank you.
Yeah, so firstly, I just want to say thank you for an excellent presentation. And yeah, from my perspective, having seen this start at an embryo stage, and I know we're only a little way down the road, so it's really great to see that we're in flight. I just wanted to ask a question as to whether in any of the discussions succession planning has come up. Coming from somewhat of a consultancy background, one of the things I was very, very conscious of in consultancy, you're always trying to move on to the next role, and there's probably a lot of people who are maybe want to go and do something else, but knowing there's a responsibility there to train up your successors so that there isn't a whole always if you're working for an external client and you're a consultant, you get a tick in the box if you leave and nothing happens. It's a seamless sort of thing. So I just wondered whether that was part of the discussion.
Yeah, so the staff are really on the ball. They know what's important. They know what they want to see and do. And in terms of like career progression, succession planning, all of those things, they're all coming out. So it isn't pay, yes, big tick, but these other things are really important. And it goes back to what John said in terms of, job satisfaction and job purpose. Where can I go? What can I do? What can I expand on? How can I move? Who's going to give me that support? And then management have also discussed, where am I going to sort of grow my own? And I know that Michelle and Nikki have touched on this as well. And there are lots of things behind the scenes that the HR team, they're already working on.
I think that's right. So just a couple of additions as well, I think. So it happens anyway, I suppose, is one thing I would say. So good managers do have plans and they think about their approach to backfilling staff, and we do promote within the organisation. Do we do it as well as we could? And is it as well coordinated as it could be? I don't think so. And I think that's some of the evidence that's coming back from some of the feedback. But it is one of those things. And somebody said to me earlier, they don't like the word quick wins, but I think it is potentially a quick win. We're actually looking at trying that now. So actually just this last week, Nikki brought a paper to the senior leadership team saying we'd like to try to look at more formalised succession planning. What we'd look to do is not do that across the board in one go, not one big bang again. Let's pilot it. Let's look at some key roles potentially in the organisation, whether they're specialist roles, which are difficult to recruit into, or the more senior roles, which we need to have a plan to backfill eventually as people grow into those roles. We're looking to start that work up. So it's almost kind of like in sync with what the staff are saying from the feedback sessions. A pilot and that activity to do it much more formally is something that's getting up and off the ground. So I think it gives hopefully some reassurance that we're already working on it, I think. Thank you.
Let's come back to that. Yeah, that's really excellent. I just know from a retention perspective, if you know that in 6 months' time, the role that you really want to go to is going to be available to you, and your manager is happy to let you go because you've trained up your successor, so it just creates this pipeline going throughout the whole organisation. I think it's an excellent thing to do. So thanks for the support.
Thank you, Chair. Just echoing really what Kath was saying, really, really good strategy. And I really love the staff engagement. It's not quite co-production, but it's going that way. And it's really good to see. And I think that is what's going to really work. I just wanted to say thank you. Well done.
No, just going to say that I look forward to how things are progressing in February, the February meeting. I was just thinking how important the champions will be. I think that'd be the most important factor. And let's just hope we get a wide range from each department. Thank you, Chairman.
We've got a really good group and they've proved really useful. Nick touched it, I think, in the presentation. So they've been really helpful. Things like, for example, when we did the staff questionnaire asking about the people's views and whether we'd picked the right priorities, it was co-designed with that group. They sat with us, worked on the questions. We let them feedback on it. It changed as a consequence of their input. And they've also been really active in terms of getting perhaps some of the more slightly hard to reach parts of the organisation involved. So it's not easy sometimes to get ops colleagues involved in this activity, but Matt Chudley, I'll name him, has been really good, and others over at the ops department have been fantastic at getting people in. And final point on that as well, Nick has also done the hard yards. She was there at 6 o'clock in the morning for the session with the staff when they turned up and was participating and having conversations about workforce strategy. So whilst I was safe at home in bed, she was busy doing the hard work, and I'm very grateful for what she's done.
Can I just add, in terms of all the groups that we've mentioned, it wouldn't have been possible to get where we are with the project without that implementation. So that is the champion group, that is the management team, that is SLT, that is ERG and Unison, is HR. It's everybody that's involved in this. We would not have got to where we are if we hadn't have worked as a team and have all of that input. So just wanted to say a really big thank you.
Thank you. I think if everyone else is, no, I'll sort of do the last. Okay. Go on, you go first.
Thank you, Michelle. Just picking up, Nicola, on your invitation to the councillors to join the sessions. Did I note the final sessions complete on the 24th of this month? Is that? Sorry.
We would make a special day.
That's super then. If we can arrange something, particularly if you've got this great momentum, occurring and this super energy and take up. So yes, if we certainly can get something in the diary, that would be appreciated. Thank you.
So what we're trying to do is that as flexible as we can as well. So we're not necessarily have to drag everybody in. We could do something remotely, perhaps on Teams or some way to get your views and your inputs. We're just working through the logistics on that as well. So we've got options. We could choose to come to you around each particular pillar, or we might come to you actually as we pull things together. We're just working those things through at the moment, but we would like to get your views and your input. So we'll definitely get that session lined up.
Michelle.
Thank you. I think if I can just add a few more points as well, just to respond to some of the questions. This is a fantastic piece of work, and the team have been working exceptionally hard to engage, because we see very often in other sectors, health is a very good example. A failure to have a workforce strategy does have serious consequences in terms of that future retention and staffing, and particularly then the ability to deliver frontline services and all of that goes with it. So the workforce strategy is absolutely imperative to deliver for our communities and our residents. I think just a few points. I love local government. 27 years, it's cut me in half. I'm like a stick of rock. It says local government all the way through. And I think being able to share and generate that same level of enthusiasm in our workforce is really important, because actually when you're in an exciting council and you feel value in the work that we do, and I think that's another thing that's really coming through the workforce strategy, but also the work we're now doing around the iCare Awards, again, our second year, and also service planning and how each of us are meeting those and linking to the corporate outcomes. And it's really important that every one of our staff, whether they open a laptop or whether they're out early in the morning, knows exactly how they are making a difference to our communities. Because it's and I've used this in our video for our staff. It's it's slightly cliched, but it's the JFK scenario where he's walking into NASA, meets a chap sweeping the floor. What do you do here? I help put a man on the moon. It's incredibly important every single one of our members of staff feel exactly that way, whether they can see automatically where they fit into those outcomes, but it's up to us as the managers and team leaders to make sure our staff see their role. And that comes back to that being valued. And that is definitely some of the work that's coming, the feedback coming through. We value our workforce. Actually, our workforce will go that extra mile time and time again for us. And I think that's why it's important to manage expectations. The point around, yes, there are things that will come through that we simply can't deliver. But what Nick's being very clear about is capturing those. So when we're able to give the feedback, the things we can do, brilliant, but also explaining why we can't do some things. Because again, back to that feeling valued and feeling appreciated. If you've asked for something and you never hear about it afterwards, you think, oh, actually, my voice wasn't that important. But actually, if you have an explanation as to why that couldn't be implemented, you might not be happy with the response, but you appreciate where we are in terms of how we can deliver that. And that's been a really key output that the team are capturing as part of that. And I think just then that takes me to succession planning and Councillor Hassell's point. Again, go back many years in local government, and perhaps there used to be probably an unfortunate phrase now, dead men's shoes. You had no opportunity for career progression because the person above you was never ever going anywhere. One of the brilliant things I think we really unlock in local government is the ability to move sideways and move into different career paths. You don't have to come in at one and think that's the only career path. We can offer so much opportunity, and particularly as our services change and technology comes on board, it changes the way we deliver things. There's real opportunity in those sideways steps, and we're a safe organisation to do that, because we continue to provide that learning and development and support if you wish to go into a different career path. It's not just you're in here and that's your career path, and you might have to wait 15 years for someone to retire or leave before you've got that opportunity. And that again is really about that value of staff and the trust that we have in our staff to be able to do those sideway moves and that learning and development support. So, and lastly, I think that comes back to, we talked about some of the skills. We have an amazing ability in local government for social mobility. We are one of the few areas really that you can join as an apprentice and see a career path to becoming a chief executive. That is incredibly powerful in terms of aspiration and ambition, and something to be celebrated, but also to show our external partners how to do that as well. And I think, again, the workforce strategy will give us more opportunity of how we can improve in that. But again, unlocking that talent that isn't always noticeable in the first instance. And I can think of many, many examples in my career where people haven't gone a traditional route into local government, haven't gone and got a degree, but have actually really been exceptional officers for their authorities and have progressed in their career. And again, lastly, just a really big thank you to the team, because how this is landing is so important in terms of, again, next time we do a staff survey, we would very much like to see an increase on 22%. And that comes from trust and confidence in voices being heard through that process to give you the inclination and incentive to take part. So thank you for letting me speak.
Yeah, I think it'd be marvellous for this committee, as members of this committee, that we do know what's going on, that we see the progression and also become involved. I was relieved Mr. Taylor suggested by Zoom or Teams, because I thought, how the hell am I going to cope in driving into the office at 5:30 in the morning for a 6 o'clock meeting? Till at my age, I just don't think I could do it this time of the year.
Oh, thank you for that. We've got a rep here. Is there anything you'd like to add to that? Anything you want to say? No? No, you're okay.
No, I haven't got anything to add. I think it's all been explained very well. We have been engaged with the process since the beginning, so yeah, it's going okay.
And just to give the 24th of January, I believe, the iCare Awards will be next year. Yeah, yeah, good, 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 good. Thank you, and thank you for all the hard work that you're doing.
Thank you. As with previous meetings, we are continuing to review our policies. We've brought 5 this quarter. 4 you've actually seen previously because they were in our cycle, so we've just refreshed them. And the new policy for review, although it has been to the committee several years ago, is the IR35 off payroll working regulations status determination disagreement process. It's a really snappy title for us all. And it has just been reviewed and refreshed, and we ask the committee to consider and endorse the updated policies, which have all been included in the pack for you.
Do we, Councillor?
I take it these policies are all of good practice, aren't they? That's the first thing. Chairman, I was just thinking, I was reading about accredited menopause, that we can take on something regarding talking to the staff who are suffering this, and that we can become accredited. Are we going to go down that line? And I noticed that I think it's 4.3 or something on the report, and I've been lost it at the moment. It's about, I think, 50% women now, aren't we? Just marginally more women than men. So I think it's very important, Chairman, if there's any opportunities that we can become accredited and can improve and help on something which I think scientifically ought to have been sorted out years ago, and probably if women were in charge, it would have been. But nevertheless, with this accreditation, do you think it's worth it, or?
I think there are. So I think we're already doing some things within the council around menopause support. We have a menopause group. Our EAP supports people, and we have guidance for managers. We are looking to do more. Particular accreditation, I'm not aware of it, but it's something we can look into alongside the other accreditations we hold.
I've just got a few points to all all good policies and pretty much standard. Just a few queries on my part from various ones. On the on page 52 in the which policy is that I'm looking at? Sorry, page 52 is the disciplinary policy. Thank you. Sorry. We talk about calendar days, which I always think is a bizarre phrase anyway, but I because all days are on a calendar somewhere. But just to be clear, when we say, I think it was the bottom of that, we get 10 calendar days of written notice. That is 10 days, including weekends. Can I suggest we just really spell that out? Because I just think 10 calendar days, what that means to me and what that might mean. I know there's a definition, but it's just about language and clarity, I thought, because it may not be, that was just one point, and it's just a suggestion. And we mentioned 7 calendar days, 4 calendar days. It's just, I find it bizarre. And I know it's a phrase we use, but the other point was volunteering policy. I got excited when I saw this, then realized it's about volunteers we're having in the organisation, which is great. Do we have an employer supported volunteer policy for our staff? Back to our earlier conversation, is that ability to have a couple of days, 3 or 4 paid days a year to be volunteering and the benefits that can bring to our workforce been considered? Was that question. I'll let you answer that one first, my next question.
The answer to that is not yet, but it's certainly feedback we're getting through the workforce strategy and some from other directions. So it's something we're certainly looking into.
Thank you, that's good. Redundancy policy, 11.5. Again, it didn't make sense, and it's maybe just me being stupid. I hear you all saying, of course it is. It was the redundancy policy. I didn't write my page down, I'm sorry. Redundancy policy at point 11.5. Let me just find it, 11.5. Employees redeployed will be granted salary protection for a period of 6 months at full pay, followed by a further 6 months at half pay. Is that, so if I'm paid £100, you're not going to pay me £50 for the next 6 months. It's presumably the difference between the new pay range and what I was on. Again, just for clarity, I thought it might just be useful to sort of spell that out. I'm not trying to teach you how to do your job, but I just thought if I were reading that, I might think, oh, I'm only being paid half my pay. And then the final point on that one was at 12.3. And this is just my ignorance and wanting to be clear. Is a 4-week trial period in a new role long enough, do we think? Or is that a standard approach?
That's a standard statutory 4 weeks, yeah. I mean, obviously we have the capacity to extend that if it's appropriate, but
Okay, so as a committee, we're asked to consider and endorse these policies. Are we all happy to do that? Yeah, thank you. Finally, I think it's the reps, if the reps from the employment got anything they want to bring to the committee tonight, or quite happy? Okay, well, with that, I'll end this employment panel and say good night to you all, and thank you for your attendance. Thank you.